good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Waste Management. Today we're going to talk about a vegetable that in the U.S. is not used all that much, but around the world, yes, has ancient roots, the leek, L-E-E-K. It's in the onion family, allium family. The thing about leek, they're actually, believe it or not, they have found drawings on cave walls dating back to Mesopotamia. That's where it's native to. It's kind of oniony. It has a mild onion taste. Beside that, they say that this plant was a major food for the early Egyptians. The Israelites, again in Egypt, they did that, and then it spread all from out Mesopotamia all throughout the world. As far as we're concerned, there are two varieties. There is a summer and a winter variety. This here is the winter variety. The summer variety actually shorter, about 100 days or so. This from seed takes anywhere from 140 to 180 days. We're talking like a long-term investment. And these aren't even planted properly. They were just seed thrown down. Normally what you do with leek is you dig a little trench. So you plant them around 6 inches down with soil around it in the trench. As they grow, you actually take the soil, mound it up against the trunk. So right down here, the main part of the stem, you really ideally want to have all this covered by soil. The more covered, the more white part you have, and from what I'm told, we'll be told about that later, that's the part you cook with. Normally the upper leaf part is what is thrown away. You see the size of these. These are about 80 days now. So you see they're not nearly ready yet. They will at least double in this size. This winter here was kind of cool, and they did very well. No sign, no damage, no anything. So if you want to try them at home, I highly recommend it. They really did rather well, and they're easy to care for. And if you're going to plant, generally I would say plant the winter variety, the longer season. But again, you need a good long period. We planted these, like I said, about 3 months ago, and they still have longer to go. If you're going to plant these, plant them I would say beginning of September. And then you have to wait and wait and wait and wait. But like again, I've tried growing them. I really don't know culinary practices. Everyone heard of leek soup, but I don't know what else to do with it. If you leave these in the ground long enough, they will flower. The flower is rather pretty. It's like a ball. There comes in white, or it comes in like a purplish type flower that will produce seed. The seed itself is a little black seed that actually you just plant, and of course it grows, but slowly initially. I was talking about burying it when you plant it. There's a way around that also. Like with these, if I wanted to, I can get boards. Let's suppose a 2x4, 2x6 would be better, or 1x6. Actually, you take it and you place it alongside. It does the same thing as blanching. What it does, it keeps the light off of the stem. The stem will get longer, the stem will be white, the leaves will be up top. Then you actually have more of the stem to use. Okay, I see Tim
Let me
here.
ask a question, if I could, Dr. Ritter. Are these easier to grow, or do they do better here in South Florida than an onion?
Okay, onions are weird down here. Meaning, there are two types of onions. There's a Grand X onion, and then there is a normal onion people are used to growing. The Grand X onion is short day. That's the kind we have to grow down here.
Okay.
Like the Vidalia sweet onion.
Sure.
That generally is better off down here. There's a whole Grand X type that does much better down here. But as for the northern type, we can't grow them down here. What causes them to flower is short days.
Okay.
So when the days are short, they flower, so you get a really little bulb, and you could use them as green onions, I suppose.
Okay.
But if you want onion, you want onion.
A lot of the usages of leek are instead of onion. And so in some of the Asian cuisine, and again, some of the Middle Eastern cuisine, they use leek because that's what they have.
Okay.
And it replaces kind of that onion, kind of pungent flavoring. And before we had lots of things to add to our food, more than salt, this was one of the major flavoring agents. But down here, it sort of looks like some of the planting we use just for cosmetic purposes in small areas around the house.
Sure.
And it goes with the theme of some of the other herbs we've talked about, that if you can plant things that look nice while they're growing, then of course they look nice, but then they have use for them later on. This would be a perfect one.
Okay, so basically you see these are not planted well. You can actually see the different age too. This little one here, he's approximately, I would say, a few weeks old. Normally what they do, they would start these indoors in a flat. When they get to this size, they then take them and plant them out. The nice thing about starting with this size, if you notice, it already has a stem, so you can already bury it up to soil, up to that part. And then you'll develop more of a stem. You can keep burying it deeper, 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 so you get that nice long stem. These were seeded in place, so we just have little stocky plants. But I like the leaves. Do you actually use the leaves?
Yes, some of them. Again, it's the underground whitish part that we think of as the leek soup, all of the things you add leek to in terms of the Thai or other Asian foods. But the green part can be used not just for flavoring, but for some of the attractiveness or presentation of a food you're making. So again, I'll use my bride because, bless her heart, she's Asian. She uses leek quite a bit. And so
I'll sell her some.
Yeah. Don't worry. I know where they are now. I can come and steal them, dude. Don't worry
Darn.
about it. Now that we're here, and I can't wait to see the tomatoes either. But she does use some of the rest for more of a garnishment. In other words, it's in the food she's making. It does add to the attractiveness by providing color, which of course the leek doesn't, being white.
Yes.
And so the answer is yes, she uses some of the leafing, but not per se. Not like we would chop it up and use some of the other grasses, like lemongrass we've talked about. That can be chopped up and the whole thing used.
Okay.
This, not so.
Okay, why don't we try to pick one of the ones that are more, I mean, they're not ready. I feel like I'm kind of, depriving it of its maturation, but we'll pull one out. Whoa. That's why it said you're supposed to shovel it out. Can you hold this? We'll see if I don't break it off.
It's always dangerous to hand me a microphone.
Enjoy.
Yeah. There you go.
Wonderful. Oh, that's actually not bad. I mean, we do have a bit of a stem that we can use. It's white. It's so little, though.
Yeah.
It's little, but, hey, any other ones are okay. So we can take this inside, and then we'll rip it apart, and then we can talk about actual uses. You could actually show us the different uses and everything. So why don't we, yes.
Boy, can you smell the aroma on that?
I smell it in my breath because of eating that little piece.
Okay. No, but as soon as you got it up, it was like, oh my God, that is a fresh smelling vegetable.
Good. Okay,
That's
great.
good.
So we have something, and we'll see what we can do with it. Let's go inside and we can talk about it.
Great.
Welcome back to Waste Management. We're here in the studio with our buddy, the leek. While I was looking at it here, I was just thinking, I also teach botany and biology, and I always talk about a fibrous root system versus a taproot system. This is the perfect example of a fibrous root system. Perfect. And just in case you're ever asked in school what a fibrous root system is, notice it's just long strings coming out, no branching, no major taproot coming out. Anyway, I'll get back to our leek.
And if you're ever asked that question in school, what school are you going to?
It's important to distinguish a monocot from a dicot. This would be a monocot. Also parallel veins. Come on, a whole bunch of characteristics. Anyway, let's talk about our buddy here, the leek. Okay, so we have our leek here. Now, if we want to cook this puppy. Okay, no, seriously, I mean, what would okay, the upper leaves, you said can be used.
Yes, if they're chopped, you can use them again as part of what you're putting into the cooking medium. You can use them.
Would that be good in a salad?
Yes, you can use them as sort of a garnish-like addition. Everybody knows parsley, so I'll use that as an example. You could use it to top something so that there's a green flavor to it. It tastes okay, it's mild. You can also use it in some of the cooking that you might be doing with it.
It is very good.
It really
is so
really
good.
And again, there is some nutrition to the green part, above and beyond, of course, its content of chlorophyll. You're not going to make energy, but it will have some of those things in green vegetables.
Isn't it supposed to be high in calcium, dark green leafy vegetables?
Yes.
So that's a good calcium source.
It would be an okay calcium source.
Okay, well.
But you know what? We have so many non-calcium food sources we consume that something that's okay is, well, okay.
But members in this family, they have been shown to be antibacterial.
Yes, and that's this part of it. And this is what we think of as the edible part. So if you were at home and you were preparing to use the leek, first, it is generally used as a substitute for an onion.
Okay.
And I don't mean you don't have an onion, so, oh well, we'll use the leek. It is, well, we want that kind of flavoring.
Shall I?
Oh, yes. Okay. This is the onion-like. If you smell it, again, you'll smell that pungent
Good.
aroma to it that, one, adds to sort of the desirability of a food as it's being cooked or as even a raw substance. You can use this, and my wife does, on Asian-based salads, where she'll sort of chop it up like onion, but it doesn't have as much overwhelming flavor as the onion. And it has all, of course, of the health benefits that it would have being cooked.
Yeah,
being
that's a
onion,
lot more pungent than
that.
the leaves. But
Right.
the leaves, if you don't mind the little fibrosy, they are, the whole thing is very, if you like onion, this is the way to go.
Right. This is why, like onion soup, French onion soup, we have leek soup. And so it has been the most traditional way of using the leek simply because you end up with a flavorful, nutritious substance, something that it will help fill you. And for then the beginning of human history, we had fire, we had a pot, we had leek soup.
Okay.
Because, again, the availability of it all.
Question for you, nutritional value of this. You said some calcium.
Okay. This part down here will have some nutrients, and that would be potassium again. There's a little bit of some of the vitamins in there. Pyridoxine might be in there, that type of thing. And that's all good. There might be we get a little greener, some folic acid. Well, that's really good because folic acid is the vitamin in America we're most likely deficient in.
It's a big thing with pregnant women.
Oh, huge things with pregnant women, okay? And so, again, anytime we can get in a better food than we've been eating, okay? You take in, fill in the blank, normal McDonald's French fries, but now you go home and have a sandwich and leek soup. Oh, huge improvement in terms of nutritive value, but also, of course, excessive versus moderate calories. Perfect. Now, the one thing that we always think of as a health benefit is the sulfur compounds that give leeks that aroma and taste.
Okay.
That has been, through history, used. Either garlic or onions, or the people that had them leeks, have always used these type of food products as medicinal. And lo and behold, years later, when we're critical, we've been passing out drugs to everybody to help with their health. What do we find? they have medicinal values. And so we go back to the beginning of it all. You know that the chemical's called allicin, and it has...
Is that how they got allium?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, these are the chemical substances in all of those pungent-like vegetables. And in the body, they seem to work lots of different ways. There's vasodilation effects. Well, wonderful. There's blood pressure benefits. There seem to be some antioxidant effects.
So it gives you rosy skin?
I don't know Rosie, so I don't know what kind of skin she has.
Oh, she's rosy.
Okay. Well, the answer is not directly, but, you know, perhaps...
Well, vasodilation.
Yeah, really. The nice part about something like this is it can be added as an ingredient to so many other things. So if you are cooking worldwide cuisine, just fill in the blank. If you're making some things from the Asian culture, Thai foods, you can use leeks to cut it up, it gives it flavor. If you're doing Middle East foods, where we think of maybe more of that couscous kind of flavoring of foods.
We're in American foods. I've never really seen much leek.
No, we've been marketing onions.
Yeah, we use a lot of onions.
We use a lot of onions. And because of that, and of course the Vidalia onions from Georgia are so close to us in Florida that when they come into season, we have all the darn onions we can deal with. But this would be the other way of getting in this when onions are not so available.
No, this is the first time I've really you see, I've been nibbling at the whole plant. It really, I'm impressed with the flavor. It's just enough without being overpowering. I think in food it might be lost though, unless you lose a whole lot.
No, you don't. Well, first you can use it fresh. So if you sliced it, chopped it, you could throw it into. Now, salad would be an example. You could add it as a...
But how about the fiber? I notice it's fibrous-y.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't bother me, but I can see some people bothering when you cook it.
Right.
Does that take care of that?
No. That's why you don't use the whole stem of it.
Ah, okay. Ah, just the blanching and the white part.
Yes, exactly.
But I noticed actually when I was eating the white part below, it's quite fibrous.
Yes. And it's one of the reasons why it cooks a long time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, if you're doing leek soup, yes, you chop it up and then it simmers in a broth and it simmers in a broth. And that's the way we used to cook soups. Is a long duration, moderate temperature type of substance, and then all of the flavors mixed together.
My pressure cooker's no good?
Yeah, your pressure cooker. Well, for those of you that just don't want to spend the time walking to the kitchen and stirring the pot saying, hey, that smells good, then go with the pressure cooker.
Or the slow cooker.
The slow cooker is perfect. And some of that fibrous nature will be diminished. But the compounds that are healthy for you, even if some of them are water soluble, will not be broken down. And so that's a good thing. Okay. I have no clue what to do with that. Okay.
We'll see, won't we?
You know. Well, let's get to the root of it. How's it taste? Okay.
Milder than the rest,
but
still has a flavor. I could actually see this cut up in a salad.
There you go.
Just a little, but you get little taste. I mean, it really, why waste it? It's clean, it's good.
It's because most of us don't eat that part of a root-based plant.
It really is good.
Okay.
That I got a big bite now.
One of those things, once again.
Keeps people away too.
You better believe it. It's one of those, I know I should start eating this just to sort of be able to put up with it. This is one of those things that, again, as part of what we've been talking about in waste management, we've been trying to get the theme out that there are other ways to flavor your food besides sugar, fat, and salt. This is certainly an excellent way to do that. If you were to plant one of these, or a bunch, and then, as we did, just go simply pull it out, even again with your comment that this was not the ripest of leeks.
But remember, 5 or 6 months to get it fully, we're talking That's a long time.
And that's a lot of leek once you finally get it.
I mean, the normal leek is maybe twice this.
Right.
So give it another 2-3 months and we'll be there.
Right. But now you have something that you could have immediately available to help flavor. And then again, your question was perfect. Now, what do you use it for? Well, you can use it as an ingredient in cooked items. Could it go in things that you were going to cook? Yes. Okay. My wife makes something about once a year called a Japanese hamburger. Okay. Let's face it, we don't eat a lot of beef-based product at home.
Is it real beef?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and back in Japan it would have been Kobe beef. So
Ooh.
I know. So, but
I've only heard legends.
But she will use leeks to cut up and mixed with the raw ground beef before it is cooked. And then during the cooking process, the flavoring of the leek is sort of permeated throughout the entire burger.
But that's what we would use onion for here.
That's what we would use onions for.
I could understand why we use onion.
Because?
Not fibrous-y.
It's not fibrous.
This is fibrous-y.
Yes.
I mean, it's chewy.
And to some degree, though, some of that will be diminished in the ripening, and then again in the cooking. But that would be adding it as an ingredient.
But I will say the flavor is different than, I mean, it's similar, but
different.
It's different, and it's a nice difference.
Yes.
It is.
And again, I hate to say it out loud, I'm not an onion fan, but I can eat foods with leeks in it. And so for some of us that onion does not sit well in our digestive system, leeks are tolerable.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little bit less of all of the things that onion have that it has mimicked. And
See,
some of
I
that
could eat
is
anything, as you can tell.
Oh, we've seen you eat, we've seen you eat the roots of things that
I like it.
never been described as edible before.
What can I say?
But, and again, probably, Steve, when people were trying to figure out what to eat, they probably ate everything. I mean, think of how we...
Are you calling me a Cro-Magnon?
Yes, yes. I was trying to find a nice way to do that. And
I'm okay with it.
but that would have been perfect. Remembering food was not only valuable as part of how we stayed alive, i.e., but it was way more scarce. And so eating everything, as you have a tendency to do, would have been the most common way of using plants like this, just like we do animals. There is no part of a hog that we waste. So people ate anything they could possibly find a way to eat. Okay? Well, this happens to be one of those that while you were eating that, you could have used to help mask the flavoring of. So
yeah, well, like I said, even the root is actually quite good.
Right.
So yeah, the whole thing.
You could have added it to an animal-based product, and if it were the least bit spoiled, this type of food product would have covered some of that less desirable taste.
You mean rancidity?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. I'm trying to say the meat was rotten and we covered it up. Okay, you see it therefore in a lot of those type of sauces where it has been then mixed with. The French would use it quite a bit.
Okay, it appears we're running out of time. Sorry to cut you off, but present this to your wife. From us to her, let her make it so you don't get sick, and you know,
I will
all that
tell
good
her it's
stuff.
from you, and once again, she won't have expectations from me. But thank you, Stephen. I will take that home to Milwaukee.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you've learned a bit about leek. I have actually learned that you can eat the whole darn thing, and it's quite good. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Waste Management.